Hello, welcome back, guys, to the Trekway with Mr. Gray and I. Hello. We are going to do the review of season 3, episode 3, mining the mines today. And just to let you into a little secret, Trevor decided to hit the streaming button instead of the record button. So if you're on my Twitch channel, you'll get a little sneak preview of that. If not, then tough luck. We'll save it for a blooper reel down the line. That was amusing. But anyway, yes, we are going to do a special shortly on some Star Trek news, probably coming out of Star Trek Day today. We don't know. Yes, it's kicking off. It's on now, actually. So
about 20 more minutes. About
20 more minutes. Right, we're recording this probably during that because that's how dedicated we are to you, the people. We will probably do a special with any kind of news and stuff on that, and we don't know much at this stage apart from Tasha Yar's rumoured to be coming back, who I like, so we'll come back with that. We'll let you know what's what. But yeah, moving on to review for this episode. I try not to go into too much detail with this like the last couple of episodes because I don't want to tear it apart and do another review episode. I want to go over it briefly and then we all give our points on it and talk about it because that's how Gray and I roll. What did you make of this episode overall, Gray? Were you happy with it compared to last week's?
I kind of approach it Lower Decks as a whole. I think, like I mentioned last time, is everything being around a 7. Maybe sometimes an 8. Like I would give like the last episode like an 8 because that had a lot of good stuff in it.
Yes.
And a lot of really funny moments. But this one was more kind of, and I'm not trying to down it too much. There was still some good stuff on it, but it was more kind of like Lower Decks routine, I guess, if that's right. In other words, the kind of normal stuff that they kind of always do.
The day-to-day stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so I was expecting like, more, but there's still some classic stuff that did go on here and there. They always are able to do certain scenes, especially when they do my favorite characters, the cat and Shaq. Because though I don't know whether it's hard for me to give an explanation of what they do, I guess, behind the scenes, but I can't help myself. I just love Cat and Shax, and every time
You still
they
don't
get
know the
something
cat's
to
name, do
say,
you?
I don't know. I keep on going Dr. Cat because I think it sounds funny.
I still don't even properly know the cat's name too much because they're not regulars on the show. They're they're not the A-listers, unfortunately. Excuse me. It was interesting you mentioned their day-to-day stuff, Gray, because that is very much what part of this episode was about, the kind of theme of it. Between the two Cali, California class ships, we see another one side by side.
That was interesting because I don't think they've. I never saw 2 before. I don't
No,
think.
not side by side. This is a first from my memory anyway.
I mean, unless one was in the distance or something, which is quite possible.
Yeah,
but not like that. Not like close, right next to each other.
I only recall it this first time. But yeah, kicking off the episode. So it starts. The first very first scene of this episode is on a random alien planet. There's a geologist there. He sees a little orb thing, a green orb. I'm thinking Romulans right away. Don't know about you, Gray. And he touches it, and all of a sudden, a spirit appears of a woman in a toga, scantily dressed, looking very nice, making suggestive comments to the geologist. She then touches him, and he turns into stone. We're like, okay, right. Next, we then pan to space, and this is the part Gray and I just mentioned a moment ago, where we see 3 starships. We see our beloved Cerritos. We see the Carlsbad, and Gray will tell you about something like that in a moment as well. If it's true or not, we don't know. And then we see an Excelsior class, which is great because you see the darker uniforms from like the First Contact movies onwards, which I really liked. Tell us about the Carlsbad thing, Gray, that you think may be an actual.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they did this intentionally, but as we talk more about the episode, there's a part where the cast is stuck in a cave or a cavern.
Yep.
Okay, on the side of a mountain, and of course Carlsbad, a lot of people know, is famous for Carlsbad caverns. And the Carlsbad caverns are the same thing. So I was kind of like, it's interesting. I mean, maybe it had nothing to do with it. Maybe it was coincidence, but it was
Hey,
interesting.
I never heard of it. You say most people, I've never heard of it, so there you go. Maybe it's just a common known thing in the States. But we like random Easter eggs like that, and even if that was not intended, screw it, we're claiming it as an Easter egg.
That's right.
But
Watch it had nothing to do with it, and all of a sudden, yeah, we did that.
we claimed it. Yeah, it was ours. Yeah.
Okay.
But I always love it. Great when there's scenes of several starships in space. I know it's not the cheapest thing for them to do, animated or otherwise, but I still love to see it, and to see one of the big hitter ships. I can't remember what that Excelsior class was called, actually, the name of that ship, but still, nice to see it all the same. Now,
definitely wasn't Sulu or something.
no, God, that would be brilliant if it was. So what we have next is we have Tendi, who I love. I love them all for different reasons. Sure. She's getting, this cracks me up, she's getting senior science officer training from a bird. A bird, Gray. I had to rub my eyes. What are they just putting? Are animals, multiple animals in Star Trek lower decks, actual species? I've heard of the cats, but birds, how many more animals are we going to get, Gray?
I think they're going with aliens that are more identifiable with animals, just because it's goofy, I guess.
Well, it follows canon.
But that character's been around though. That's Dr. Miglimo. He's the he's the psychiatrist.
From where?
The Cerritos. He was on. There was a past episode where
I must just have been the ones.
They had to go to the psychiatrist or something to get some counseling or whatever, or the ship's counselor, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And they went to this guy, Dr. Miglio. There you go. So but you don't see him much, but this time you did, and of course the character thinks very much of himself.
Oh yeah,
more than anyone else, of course. But that's okay. That was his typical thing.
That's his persona. Basically loves himself, thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread. And Tendi is supposed to be getting training from this guy. We actually learn that it's actually going to be Captain Freeman that will be the person that she's learning from later on. But I cracked me up to see a bird there talking. I thought the cat was a one-off for Star Trek, but why not have a bird that's a psychiatrist or doctor or whatever he's? Yeah, that was amusing.
I was trying to think of kind of what bird he was. I'm thinking parrot, but I don't know. Maybe I was
a parrot or macaw.
Yeah, maybe? Or something like maybe. I don't know.
If anyone knows,
I like them worms though.
Oh no! Oh yeah! Oh God!
He goes, you should try these worms. What did he say? He said they have a nice brown toast on them or something.
Yeah, something disgusting and random. I'm like, yeah, I put me off my dinner for sure, and it was like gach a little bit actually.
Gach. That's the Klingon bowl of worms that they eat.
Yeah, and they're both live as well, so I'll pass in the gach. We moved to the planet where we've got the Carlsbad crew, remember a Cali ship as well, having what Trevor likes to call a ding-dong, a little confrontation with the Cerritos crew, because it took me a moment to actually realise they were a Cali-class ship as well, the Carlsbad. I thought for a moment they were the Excelsior class guys, and I thought that's why having a ding-dong, because the Excelsior class will be deemed as a higher ship and crew than the Cali class, and they probably are. But no, they're both Cali class, and these orbs, Gray, that are turning everyone's fantasies into some form of reality, have to be dug up and they have to be moved away for safety. And it's literally the Cerritos crew and the Carlsbad crew are both on the planet, and they're getting a bit pissed off each other, trying to outdo each other because they want to be superior and show who's the best here. I like that, you wanted to see Beckett. She can't see anything go past her. She's got to be the best at everything, and she's rallying the troops to clear them up as quickly as possible. We get a little nice Easter egg, though, that I noticed not long after that, Gray. Easy for me to say, let's try that again. Ambassador Spock was mentioned. Do you remember that when they're going through the inventory? Yeah, when they're going through the pads of documents, everything that was there, they mentioned Ambassador Spock's name really, really briefly. And I noted it down because this is the little cool Easter eggs and stuff I like to point out in this episode.
Yeah.
And during that time, Ambassador Spock's still very much with us, isn't he? So I liked that little touch. And then, I mentioned Science Officer training for Tendi, who I also love, with the captain. We're finding out more about these fantasies, though, Gray, okay? And by all means, I know you've got some notes and points, jump in with them. These cracked me up because Rutherford's fantasy was of Leah Brahms, which was also Geordi LaForge's real-life crush, if you recall that episode back in the day.
No.
Yeah,
That's good. I didn't know that. Yeah.
So Leah Brahms was there, and that's your fantasies. Like, oh, yeah, definitely. She starts talking about, come and check these warp nacelles with me, Rutherford, and stuff. And he's getting a bit hot and sweaty on the call. I'm watching him squirm. We have
and they're being careful too. They could have dropped more innuendo, but they
hell yes, yeah. Like, to give you guys an idea, in the UK it's a 16 plus, that show. Age 16 plus, okay. So that says it all. It's deemed for an adult audience, and they could be much worse. But you need to keep a little bit of dignity in Star Trek, even if it is a comedy, Gray. Can't go over the top.
Well, see, this is why I like Dr. Cat, because she cusses all the time, but they always go beep, 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 beep.
And Becky does as well. Yeah,
exactly. So it's just kind of like, okay.
It was like last week's
but
episode.
You know what? But the cat was the one that did it all the time. Beckett's a latecomer on that.
Well, if she only swears sometimes, the odd time, and it's funnier because she doesn't overuse it.
Right.
I can tell. Like last week when she's going up the elevator stairs, and she looks at the stairs and she goes, "Just what the beep."
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
If it's done,
but the swearing is so much of the cat's personality that if she whatever didn't, it wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
No, that's true. What the character is.
That's why we love the cat, just because cat gives no shits at all. We absolutely
think about it for a second. I never really put two and two together on this one, but the cat almost would be what McCoy could have been.
Why? So I see some McCoy, yeah.
Because McCoy was very, very caustic like that, but he never cussed because they couldn't do it back then, right?
Yeah, no chance.
But if you think about it, if you had somebody like DeForest Kelly McCoy now, he could be a little bit like the cat and get away with some stuff.
The cat is
right. Instead of saying certain things to Kirk, he could say,
such and such,
Kirk or something like
F you, Kirk, F you, Jim,
or something. And that's right, or get away with it because they're friends. But it just popped into my head. I think that would have been interesting.
Great, it's a very good point. I think I wouldn't be surprised if the cat is based somewhat, at least, on Bones. Genuinely, maybe. Yeah, because they have got a lot of stuff in common. And I love how sassy she is. So, yeah, no, definitely. One of her favourite characters, like Gray and I have mentioned a few times, we'll probably mention several more times. More fantasies on the list here, Gray, from some more of the crew. Boimler's fantasy. Do you want to tell them about Boimler's fantasy, Gray?
So he finds an admiral, apparently. I don't know if it's an admiral he recognized. But this guy comes driving in on, I don't know what this thing was, on a scooter of some type.
A Star Trek hovercraft scooter.
Right, and he just comes in and starts talking. The Borg have taken over. We need your help. And he's like, "Oh, the Borg! I can take over." And he starts walking right to him until Becca grabs him and goes, "You dummy! That's
not real."
Like,
damn. He's like, "You sure? I can make you captain." All the pips and all that.
You know what's funny though about that? When he came in on the cycle, I almost thought it was real, only because
Tron.
The other fantasies that they don't come flying in on something; they're all just appeared.
That's true. So it makes it more realistic looking, almost.
Yeah, exactly. So I started going like, why is he different? I'm going like, is that a real thing?
I'm also surprised the fantasies didn't get a lot more realistic in terms of how they try to get a hold of their victims. But again, because it's a comedy, I guess they weren't going, and it's only 28 minutes, something long. There's only so much they can do.
If it wasn't a comedy, they'd be going like, just take my hand.
Just take my hand, come with me.
We
learn what Beckett's fantasy. She goes bright red. It's of a fellow crewman hot Andorian girlfriend of hers. That they're just friends, Gray. They're not
Yeah,
girlfriends.
they really laid that one on thick.
So she
Yeah,
was
right there.
she was hot and Dorian for sure. Lovely antennas for sure, no doubt about it. Or antennae, sorry, that's the correct saying for that. So yeah, we're finding out slowly but surely everyone's. I think we found out. Did we find out what Tendy's? No, because Tendy was on the
Tendy was on the
ship most of the time. Yeah, so that's the only one we didn't find out of. That would have been interesting to find out what hers were. Might have been of her and Rutherford together.
Or maybe Boimler. Remember?
Boimler, or both of them.
Yeah.
But
see.
This is why we don't do an after dark episode, because it would
we get too
we get taken off YouTube. So we find out all their fantasies one after the other, but then the proverbial hits the fan, Gray. We have them trying to face off over one another, and they're showing off. Beckett's trying to win the competition, who can get the most orbs collected. She shows off too much. She then talks to the chap from the start of the episode, the one that's kissing the commander's ass, basically. I can't remember his name. Yeah, but you know that one, the ass kisser, that one there. She's like, she says things about the commander, and he's like, really? No, this is not true. We'll show them who's the boss. And starts showing off, throwing all the orbs in really quickly. He slam dunks to them in. The whole thing gets knocked over. All the orbs break. And then they wonder what happens, because before you touch them, you get fantasy. But now they're all broken, and the vapor goes into the air. And then you just know that it's going to turn into an absolute nightmare. Some of the things we see, Gray, one of my highlights, you can tell me, of all the monsters that start chasing them, mine is of a Borg snake. A snake that is a Borg.
Yeah.
Can you beat that?
It was fantasy. It was fantasy cross with the
nightmares,
and you get that. So that was I like that.
So note to self: don't break the orbs, because it'll end in tears. And that's when the monsters chase them to the cavern, and that's what Gray mentioned about the Carlsbad cavern. So for American listeners and viewers, you may understand that and appreciate that better than I would. Which cracked me up. The amount of I think the Borg snake takes the cake there, though. To be honest, you agree?
Well, the funny thing was, during the whole fantasy sequence, or fantasy nightmare sequence,
yes,
is that they discovered that all these different things that were happening to their fantasies were really odd, because it seemed to be pulling other weird types of memories from them and then kind of mushing them together to these creatures. Like I think it was the snake that spit up a basketball, and he was sitting there going like,
what
does a basketball got to do with anything? And then there was one I don't know if you remember this one, but the one that was Tandy turned into a monster or whatever.
Yeah.
And but she was carrying a cowboy hat, and then so Rutherford or one of them turns her and goes like, "Have you ever had anything going on with a hat with Tandy?" And she's going like, "No, because if she put it on, it would irritate her antennae." I thought that was funny. They just got to like drop that one. It's like, no hat there.
Yeah.
And then of course these nightmares are just like totally off the wall, and they don't know what's going on. The only thing is, I was trying to figure out is, were they supposed to be in your mind, or were they supposed to be manufactured? But apparently, I guess they were manufactured because they were shooting phasers at them and burying them in rocks.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. Yeah, because they're in the cavern.
Because they never really said whether it was supposedly a solid thing.
They didn't know, but because they're firing phasers at them, that makes me think that they're at least the minimum a hologram. Yeah, because they're in the cavern. They basically lock themselves in, the ensigns, with their phasers to stop the monsters getting in. But then that's when, like Gray mentions, there's weird things like the snake shooting out the basketball, and they're like, what's going on here? So they start investigating more, don't they, Gray? They start looking around, they're getting some signals from that far end of the cavern. They go to the far end of the cavern. There's a control pad to get in. And I'm getting vibes right away, Gray, of the first or second time we find out that episode of Star Trek Voyager, Phage. I can't remember what those aliens were called that harvested the organs, but they were in caverns, if you remember, and everything was kind of hidden, if you recall, from back in the day. So I got vibes of that, big still. But they basically find a little secret section. They go in, They find Federation tech. They find a big master orb, and it's basically recording stuff. It is literally recording all their memories and stuff. They're like going, what's going on? Something's a bit bizarre here. So they need to report their findings back to the Cerritos as soon as possible. But while they're down there at the start, I found a little, these little cool things that I pull out, little piss takes as I call them with Star Trek. As soon as they get blocked in that cavern, what was it Beckett says when they try to communicate? It's not a normal day in Starfleet unless comms get blocked or something along those lines. I went, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Or there's not or we're the closest Starfleet vessel or something like that. It's always the usual lines, which I had a chuckle about. It turns out, though, that the two crews having a ding-dong against one another, the actual Carlsbad crew were actually trying to impress the Cerritos crew. Because they're like, no, you guys are cool. But you're not lame. Don't think you're lame. You're cool. And what's it they call them, Gray? The Enterprise of the support ships.
Enterprise of support ships. Yeah, that was interesting.
They must have felt so proud, like really, really tall and mighty there. And
it was nice. It was nice to see that because it gave you a real idea of how good the Cerritos is in comparison to support ships, of course. But even so, it was good. It was a development in the characters and stuff, which was kind of cool.
It was nice to hear them actually get a bit of recognition because yes, they are a sport ship, but they're the best of the sport ships, so this is why they are the top dogs there. But let's not forget we still have Tendi back on the ship, Gray, getting her science training there, but she's not sure she can do it. She's not sure she can pull it off, so she goes and speaks to the doctor in sickbay, our doctor, Cat Doctor, because Gray can never remember her name. Dr. Cat, yeah, let's call her Dr. Cat. We will find out her name properly for next time, but we just like to call her the Cat.
Well, let's
I like
that scene.
Yeah, Gray can take that scene because it's a chuckle.
So this is where it gets really funny again because I love the character. So Tendi walks in, or rather, actually, it's a Dr. Cat asks for a sedative for the patient. Now she has a patient on the table with some kind of weird looking fish thing with giant teeth that basically is half his foot in his mouth. And he's going like, "Am I gonna be okay?" And then he goes, "Get me a sedative." And all of a sudden, Tendi comes in and gives her the sedative, and she just looks at her with a straight face and goes, "What the beep are you doing here?" It was just classic. I was sitting going, "Oh man." He said, and this is well, and then she started to explain, why she was there and stuff, and then she started to be honest with Dr. Cat about how her feelings are, and then of course, being Dr. Cat. He just goes like, "We're really gonna do this now, aren't we?" And so then he turns around and gives her some advice and tells her basically, "Look, you got to screw up to be able to become a better person. It's not." He said, "But I study all the time." He said, "Studying's one thing, but you got to mess up. And when you mess up, you learn." And then and then she took that to heart, and it was a good piece of information for what she wanted. But during the scene, though, in each they used to cut away every once in a while. And she would sit there and talk about, like, you should be like this guy. He says he's about ready to get his toes digested by the fish. And the guy goes, "What?" He wakes up and goes, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Shut up." Just puts him down. And then later they talk a little more. And then all of a sudden he comes up and he says, "Well, I'm going to have to, let him know that I got to cut off his foot and so he can grow a new one." And he gets up again and goes, "What?" And she just drops these lines every so often about doing something to the patient on the bed. It's just hilarious. I'm just like rolling when she's sitting there saying all this stuff.
Remember the chainsaw?
Oh yeah, and at the very end, after he finishes giving. I don't know if it's a he or a she. I keep doing this.
She.
Okay, fine. So she finishes giving the information. Then all of a sudden the guy goes, "You aren't serious about that." She starts the chainsaw and he's going, he goes like this, and they cut away, and you hear the guy screaming.
Yeah, we do.
Like, wow, it was my favorite scene of that whole episode.
We do love the Doctor and Shax equally. Actually, I both love them equally. The Doctor's name is Tiana, by the way.
Okay.
T''A''Ana, Tiana.
Yeah, but much better.
A Catian. I don't know if you pronounce it a Catian, Doctor. Catian,
of course.
Catian,
right?
Yeah. And wait a minute.
I do have another favorite scene. We'll get to it with Shax too, by the way.
Yeah, is that yeah? So finishing
very small, but it was good.
Yeah, we're finishing off the episode, and the crew are back on the Cerritos. and the Carlsbad captain and Captain Freeman they've been given a peace offering by the rock dudes, as I'm calling them, Gray, the rock dudes on the planet,
The rock dudes, yeah.
and the Federation scientists. They're coming on to kind of have some kind of peace treaty. Basically, the two captains are trying to sort out the mess that's going on down there. And the rock dude, as again I'm calling him, offers a little peace offering to the captain. But the captains keep passing this little rock to one another constantly, like pass the parcel, because none of them want to take it. It gets to the point where they're they're going to it's about to get smashed by Tendi. But however, our other favourite character, Shax, comes on, and then Carol Freeman's like, yeah, okay, maybe we should just phaser it then. And then as soon as she says that, the doctor is the Dr. Shax is basically, oh goody, excited, just a little tiny bit. I'm assuming that's the bit you're referring to, Gray.
No, actually that was a good one too, but I was referring to a different one. When they were going back and forth with the rock and stuff like that, all of a sudden a whole big argument breaks out. So the entire senior crew of the Cerritos and the Carlsbad are all arguing in this room while the two alien races are looking at them going like, what is going on here? Why are they sitting there arguing and yelling and screaming at each other? So it gets really crazy. And then all of a sudden Shax goes, I'm having flashbacks.
Oh yeah. yes.
And I hear this and I just cracked up. I couldn't handle it. It was so funny.
Yes,
it was just a small line, but for some reason he and the cat especially get the best lines that if you don't pay attention to it, you can
You'll
easily
miss
just
it.
blow right by you.
You'll miss it for
So
sure.
now I pay close attention now to Shax and the cat, Tiana, whatever, and just because they usually are given some of the best stuff.
They are.
It's almost like you remember seeing what was those movies, the comedy movies where every scene was something different. Naked Gun. I don't know.
Naked. Oh hell yes.
Well, in those movies and the TV series that it came from, you had to really pay attention to what was going on in the scene because there was some funny stuff going on. And if you didn't look at the scene carefully, you would miss half the stuff that was going on.
Was James Doonan not in one of those movies, Scotty, at one point? Yeah, Naked Gun 33 and a third. When they're walking along the corridor, yes, and talking about he was fixing a tea machine or coffee machine or something, and he makes some kind of Star Trek line or quote or something. He was in it for sure, though. You don't remember?
I don't remember now. It's been a long time.
Oh man!
But those were what they're doing, not to that extent, but in this series they do that too. I swear they got to be looking for those two characters to say these things in every episode. And when they can think of something good, they just give them the lines and see if anybody really picks up on it.
We will. Gray and I will always pick out the lines in the comments like that. Call them Easter eggs. Don't call them Easter eggs. I like to point them out anyway because it's what makes this review a bit more unique and a little bit more cool that we point out little things like that. And because we love Shax dearly, then yes, he had a couple of cracking one-liners.
Before we go, I want to interject. Before we go, there
was
only one scene in it that I thought was not good. So much so that it really irritated me.
Oh, is this the ending? All right, so we're not quite at the end yet, Gray. You're jumping the gun slightly, but yeah, we need to bear that in mind because I know where Gray's going with this, and I agree with him actually for what it's worth. The pass the parcel with the rock is getting ridiculous to the point where actually Tendi picks it up and just smashes it on the desk. We then find a little hidden tracker inside there, to which the whole plot's been rumbled. The Federation scientist and the rock dude are working together. For whatever means, they're basically carted off by Shax. They try to sneak out, and Shax just goes, stops them, and they're yeah, exactly, just growls. He growls. So they're basically getting taken off to a court case. And after this, the world's at ease. But what we do have to mention at the end, and I'll let Gray take this one, but I agree with his point very much. One thing we didn't like was the very end scene, Gray.
Yeah, well, basically, the crew of the Carlsbad and the crew of the Cerritos are just kind of whatever, talking a little bit at the very end, and they're talking about how kidding around with each other and how great this was and how great you were and how great they were, and they're all just giving each other accolades. But when they got to Boemler, they totally embarrassed him to the point where they made him look like he was insignificant. And I thought that was really bad on the writer's part because they've spent time
he's the main
on the character of Boemler. Yeah. Right. But besides that, they've been spending some time on Boemler, making him a little bit I'm not going to say better, but a little bit more grown. I don't. A
Mature?
little more developed, a little more mature, a little more developed,
Yeah.
and it just took it all the way back to the beginning to where he's a complete dick. Let's put it plainly.
Yeah, that's a
And I
shame.
really didn't like that, and I thought that was very, very badly done, and I thought it was really stupid that they did that. It
It
was
was.
just totally very irritating.
It wasn't classy. It wasn't classy to put. I didn't see the point in them actually putting it in there. That's what.
And the thing is, it wasn't just one funny pun to put him down.
No,
They
it
were
was
putting
several
him
lines.
down, and
Yeah.
then putting him down, and then putting him down, and then they kept putting him down all the way to the end of the episode.
Yeah. Not. I 100%
And
agree
it
with
was
you,
like,
Gray. There was no need for it. It didn't add
yeah,
anything to the episode. That's why I found
right.
it tasteless and pointless. So yeah, no, that was a disappointing end there. But I mean, let's say it was a decent kind of 6 or 7 overall for me. Actually, I'll take that down. It
Mhm,
was 7. I'm going to say 6 out of 7 because that kind of lowered it a little bit there. But no,
mhm.
it was a decent episode. It wasn't bad. More funny scenes in it, and we look forward to episode 4 next week. But what Gray and I will do, like we said at the start, we're looking to the end of the weekend do a kind of one-off special there, out with the reviews where could be any length of time. We're just going to talk about a few things, Star Trek Day, some news that comes out of it, a little thing that Gray wants to go over, and we should be good. So if you can do the usual good stuff, so if you like Star Trek, if you like the format that we do for reviews and our specials, we'd always appreciate a cheeky subscribe because it's free, and a thumbs up to show us that you like it. Please always leave comments below. Because we don't pretend to be experts, and if there's something we could do better or something you want to see or hear, let us know. Please do. We will put this this video onto the podcast platform, so it'll be available to everyone. And then we'll leave it at there, basically. Anything else you want to add before we shoot off, Gray?
No, I think we're
No,
good.
that
Looking
we're good.
forward to the next one.
Yeah, same here, same here. Okay, right, until Sunday, maybe Sunday or Monday, all the best and live long and prosper, I guess. See you
Bye
later.
bye.
Bye-bye.